We are recording. Welcome to Crack Cleanse Week 3. We have Nadya here and myself. My name is Aditi Ramchandani. I am a marketing strategist and confidence coach. We are hosting this challenge for free for everybody so they can clear out the clutter in their lives so they can make room for joy. All right. Now, one thing I'm going to say is if for some reason I get knocked down, you all just hang tight. I will come right back in because sometimes that happens. So hopefully that won't happen today, but just FYI. All right. So if that happens, y'all chat and I'll be back. So today we're going to be talking about how to crank up the positivity. All right. We just did a We just did a Pass the Cast and we got some new people coming on. So hope everybody will be joining us. We already have 12 people we already have 19 people watching us. Awesome. Cool. So I'm going to be interviewing Nadya today. So 2 weeks ago, I was interviewed and I talked about how to conquer procrastination. Now, if you're signed up for crapcleanse.com and you're part of the private Facebook group, which you get inside the email, you'll see the replays from the past 2 weeks in there in case you missed it. We came up with an acronym called RAC. R is for result, because you want to figure out if whatever it is that you're procrastinating from and that you want to do you actually even want that result? We were all joking because 2 weeks ago, I was going to go to a career fair because if you don't know me already, I just went full-time into my business last month. This is month 2, full-time in my business. And there was a career fair that my master's university was having. And I was like, maybe I should just get a job. Like, what am I even trying to do with this entrepreneur stuff? Like, I just don't know what to do. I could not get myself out of bed. So we talked about it 2 weeks ago. Like, what was it that was making me procrastinate so much? And I came up with this. And, Nadya, you said in your scope earlier, I'm talking about positivity. So the universe is just throwing stuff at me like, oh, you're going to talk about positivity? Let me see what you know about positivity. So that's what was happening to me when I was getting interviewed 2 weeks ago. They're like, oh, you want to talk about procrastination? Bam, let's throw all these things into your face and see how you deal with it. And so I was facing procrastination to go to this career fair. I could not get out of bed. And then I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, am I just lazy? And like, those are the dialogues that we talked about that like, no, you're not lazy. There's something deeper going on. So we came up with this acronym. R is result. So I asked myself, do I actually want what is the result I would get from going to the career fair that I'm trying to go to? And the result I would get if I go potentially is that I would get some freelance opportunities. And guess what? Mm-hmm. That did not excite me at all. I was like, I don't want a freelance opportunity. So then I realized I actually didn't want the result. And that's why it was causing me to procrastinate. But if I didn't move to the place of awareness, I would have never become aware of that. And then I wouldn't have stopped, because I was beating myself up so much. And we all do that. We're like, man, why can't we just do this already? Or why are we taking so long? What's our problem? And that's where I was going until I realized the reason I was procrastinating was because I didn't want to go. And once that became clear to me, I was able to let it go. And the other thing is if you do want the result, then you move to A for awareness to figure out what kind of thoughts are coming up. And then you figure out the root cause of the thoughts, help you become aware of why it is that you're procrastinating. And then when you figure out why it is you're procrastinating, like for me, when I was trying to clean my dresser, I found out after being aware that I was really beating myself up as I was cleaning. I was like, girl, you don't have your shit together. I cannot believe your corner is so damn dirty. And then I started going into the place of, oh my God, it's going to take forever. I just was getting so crazy. And then as I became aware of my thoughts, I was able to reel it back, right? I was just like, wait, why are you being so mean to yourself? Like, why are you being so, yes, RAC, exactly. So then I was like, all right. So now K in RAC stands for kindness. So then I had to move to a place of kindness. And I was like, look, I know this is hard. I know you don't want to do this, Aditi. I started talking to myself. I have mirror closets in my bedroom, so I can do that. And I was like, look, I know this is hard. I know you don't want to do this, but can you just promise me one thing? Can you just do just a little bit at a time? And you can take all the breaks in the world. So you guys, I was making a negotiation with myself. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I can do that. So that's it, you guys. I made a contract with myself that I'll just do a little bit at a time and I can take all the breaks in the world. And guess what, you guys? My corner got cleaned by the end of that weekend. So it wasn't ideally what I wanted because, you know, we always have these unrealistic expectations in our mind. But once I moved to a place of kindness with myself, I was actually able to get done what I was trying to get done. So that's super cool. So that was week 1. Last week, we talked about clearing energetic blocks to success. Okay, everything is on the YouTube channel. All the replays are in the Facebook group, so everything is there. If you're not in there right now, you can still join at crapcleanse.com. Last week we talked about last week we talked about kind of like how we can get out of our own way and what are energetic blocks. And Shweta, who was the person who got interviewed last week, she's an energy healer, and she just explained it so beautifully. You guys have to catch the replay for that too. It was so good. And she talked about crap is kind of like when you're sitting in a car and you're sitting in traffic. So the traffic is all of the crap. So what do you do in that moment? Do you sit there and just sit in your crap and then you find yourself complaining and you end up being stuck? Or do you find a way around the crap? Do you find a way to move through the traffic? Are there ways to do that? And she talked about that last week, and she said we always have a choice. We always have a choice if we want to stay in that traffic or if we want to find another way or take another street to get to our destination. And it was a very, very, very beautiful talk. So you guys should definitely check the replay of that. And now to move to today, I want to introduce Nadya Hewitt. I don't know, I don't know which side it shows for you, but you're over here for me. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird like that. Like it's different for each person, but Nadya isn't on one of these sides in the recording. And so today we're going to be talking about crank up the positivity. And I think it's such an important topic because so many times everyone's just talking about positivity all the time. So we're going to break it down a little bit today. You know, what the heck even is positivity? What do we do with that? And then what about when you just really don't want to be positive and you're kind of mad, you're kind of angry, you want to throw something at the computer like I actually did this morning, which I'll talk about later. But I would like to introduce Nadya Hewitt. She is a lifestyle blogger and a Thrive coach. And we're going to be talking about all of that. You know, she's been through so many roller coasters and she has really thrived through some really rough situations. And she's going to be talking about things with you today that she has never talked about openly in public and in depth the way she is going to be doing today. So today is really, really special for everybody here. We're going to get to know Nadya on a deeper level and learn about all the positivity that she brings to everybody's lives. So without further ado, here is Nadya Hewitt. And Nadya, if you wanted to introduce yourself more, feel free to. And then I'm going to ask you after that, what is positivity to you? So you can go ahead and answer that.
So guys, like Aditi said, I am a lifestyle blogger. My lifestyle blog is hiletsmakeout.com, and it is my blog about life, love, and life purpose. And I am so happy to be here today talking to you guys. And yeah, let's get into it.
Right.
I'm super, super.
What is positivity, girl? Give us the laydown.
What is positivity? So guys, positivity is just the frequent experience of pleasant emotions, joy, happiness, love. When you find out you have more money in your account than you thought you did. It's those euphoric feelings that you get, those waves. It kind of feels like waves of like warmth rushing over you, that you're just like so happy in that moment. Like when you can't stop laughing and your face hurts, like that to me is more positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when something so silly just makes you just like crack up and just like, you know, you just feel good. You know when you wake up on the right side of the bed in the morning, you know?
Maybe. Is it warm fuzzies?
Warm fuzzy feelings, yep. It kind of reminds me of, you know, a warm day and you have good music playing and you're like laying out in the park, because I live in San Francisco. So to me, that is like positivity.
You know what's positivity to me, girl? Being in bed. I love my bed so damn much. It's so comfortable. Who doesn't love some good sleep?
I literally am in the process of like reconfiguring my bed. Like okay. I want to get nice sheets for it. I want to get comforters. Like I just love, I love my bed. You're so right. You're so right.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I love it. Okay. So let's just dive right in. Let's get into the meat of what we're going to be talking about today. I want to hear all the low down dirty about the roller coaster of your life for these past couple of years, how kind of positivity fits into all of that, and how do we kind of get through things when honestly shit just sucks. You know what I mean? We're gonna be talking about that, and I'll stop you here and there sometimes to clarify a few things or to make a joke about something. But let's just dive right in. Let's dive into some of the really, really shitty times and how you got through it.
So guys, I'm like what Didi says, I'm just going to dive right in and tell you guys, like, my journey with positivity was not just an isolated incident. It was 4 years, a solid block of just one after the other, after the other, after the other. And it was kind of like, wow, like, how much more can I take? Jesus. So this all started in August of 2011, August 24th exact. And normal day, like normal, everything's fine. I was working a job that I didn't really like, but at the time it was the job and I made a lot of money and my parents were happy and it was normal. I was doing what I was supposed to do. And I got a phone call. And long story short, on that day, my mom suddenly passed away. And it was the most tragic, heart-wrenching event that has probably ever happened to me. But it was one of those things where it was so hurtful and it was such a shock to our family that we were just like, oh my gosh, like, how are we ever going to recover from this? But what that event did for me was it really made me wonder, this job that I don't like and this environment that I don't like, everything just started to become very, very crystal clear. The things that I didn't like, I now hated because I realized that life is so much more important than these things that I was holding on to. So after that, I actually quit my job. And that was a huge thing for me. Wow. I'm first generation American. Yeah, I actually quit my job. I'm first generation American. Yes, I went to my boss and I shut the door, and I literally don't know how I did this. I sat her down and I said, look, I'm going to give you my month's notice. I can't do this. And it was meant to be, you guys, in a very strange way, because she looked at me and she said, I will help you. And every day up from, I know. Isn't that crazy? It was one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was meant to be, because after work, after everyone would go home, she would shut her office door and she would work on my resume with me. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
So long story short, I know. So long story short, I quit my job and I then decided I don't want to stay where I was. I was in Virginia and I was doing the same thing. I said, I want a new adventure. I want something new to do. I want more out of life. I knew I wanted more, but I didn't know what it was. And so I started applying.
How did you know you wanted? I feel like honestly, I didn't actually know that I wanted more until maybe something gave me a little glimpse of something more. And I know that there's so many people who are kind of to be honest, living a zombie life. They're just kind of going to work, coming home, doing what they need to do. We just get so caught up in these routines sometimes that I feel like I don't know, it just feels very dead. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about? I feel like I didn't know I was feeling this way until I got a glimpse of something else. So is that what it was?
Absolutely. I literally, after my mom passed away, it was kind of something came to a head. It's I knew this was stirring in me, but I ignored it because I was this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to have a job and make money and then buy a nice car and then move from an apartment to a house. And I was right, what I was supposed to do up until my mom passing away. As shallow and stupid as it sounds, my biggest concern was buying a new car. I was I want a new car. I want this, I want that. And I was so caught up in this life, and the glimpse that I got, I watched at that time my family members coming by the house, and I could see the family members that were having I guess doing their life purpose. I had an uncle that kind of took me aside and he was talking about what he was doing. And I talked with him a little bit about what I was doing. And he looked at me and he was like, oh, I can tell you're not happy. And I was like, well, duh, I'm not happy.
He just straight up said that to you, you're not happy?
He just came out and said, I know you're not happy. And I said, well, duh. At first, I didn't even get it. I said, duh, I'm not happy. Mom just died, duh. And he was like, no, you're not.
Oh, about the
He
mother,
said, no,
right?
yeah, he's like, you're not happy in here. And I was like, yeah, I'm not. And he was like, yeah, you need to find what makes you happy. And I took that as kind of like my check to say, okay, this is okay for me to go and do this crazy thing, quit my job. And that's exactly what I did. So then I started applying to jobs, and I got a job in San Francisco. And I got a job working with homeless youth, and I was so excited to do this job. And I moved across the country from Virginia to San Francisco by myself with no one. I didn't know anybody out here. And I was like, okay, let's do this thing. I'm going to do it. I just bit the bullet. I explained this to my family over Thanksgiving dinner, you guys. And
those Thanksgiving dinners. Oh, really? Oh my God.
So everyone going around the table talking.
Can you enact it? So you're at dinner and you're like, hey guys.
So I came and I was like, hi guys. And everyone's like, hey Nad. And I was like,
hey,
I was like, hi. And they were like, hey. And I was like, I have some news. And everyone's like, oh, yay. Because they knew I was looking for a job. And I was like, guys, I got a job. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, it's in San Francisco. It fell silent. Like you could hear everyone's like plate like clink, except for my 80-year-old aunt that said, go girl, you don't have to stay
here. Is she the one who commented on your post today for the interview and she was like, you go girl? Oh, different aunt. Okay. No, at least you're multiple supportive aunts.
Like in the 80s, and like, you know, she's older, and she was like, don't listen to what these people say, you do what you want to do. I was like, see, if she says it,
there's always that one aunt. I feel like there's always one, you know. That's funny. Okay, good.
Yeah, and everyone looked at her like, be quiet. But I mean, that I knew that's what I was going to do. So it did not necessarily go over well with my family because I'm West Indian, and the idea is that you have to stay close to home. And so this was a huge change for my family. And I was like, look, I'm going to do this. This is going to be great. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to discover whatever there is to discover. I can always come back home if it doesn't work. On that note,
okay.
So I went and started this job, and I was an event coordinator, and I was producing this huge gala, guys. So like donations, all types of stuff. A lot of work goes into this. So I basically came into this job hitting the ground running. Like you literally have to they literally dropped me down. My pants were on fire. I had no shoes, and I had to go because literally I had to go because the person that they let go before left everything in the exact middle. So I had to pick everything up.
Okay.
Yeah. So my nights were going until 1:00, but it was successful. It was great. And they made a record amount of money. So I think they made over $700,000. I was super excited.
Okay.
And so at the end of this, I was supposed to receive a raise. So I got called into the office, and I was super excited. I knew I was going to get my raise because I made record money. And there was my boss there and the HR lady. I could feel it, guys. I was going to get this awesome $5,000 raise. And out of the HR woman's mouth came, thank you so much for your time, Nadya, but we're going to have to let you go. What?
And you just moved to San Francisco. You just moved across country. You just moved your whole life. Wait, so how long after you got there? 3 months? Not even a year? Man, that's
3
shitty.
months. So guys, I had just found an apartment, signed my name on a year lease. I just had all of these things invested, and I have no family. And
you don't know anyone.
That I knew no one. So I hear that this is it, and this is what it's going to be. And I literally felt like somebody punched me in the chest. It was so heartbreaking. So I was like, okay, so much for, going to San Francisco and making my family proud. So I was like, okay. Teacher said she only had the job that lasted 2 months. Girl, I feel you. I feel you on that because it feels like, eh. So I told my dad, And my dad told me, he was like, you're out there, you got to make it work. And I completely agreed with him. So guys, I went, I got a part-time job at Banana Republic in the mall. Not exactly the best job and definitely not the funnest, but it was going to pay some bills. I was able to get unemployment, and I decided I'm going to just build this life. I don't know anyone out here. At least I have a clean slate now, and at least I have time to get to know people. It was not easy. And I just started like rebuilding, basically rebuilding. So then I met a guy and I started dating this guy. And at the time he seemed really cool. At the time he seemed really fun.
He seemed cool.
At the time he seemed cool. Right. ... And I was like, oh, that's so awesome. Like, he moved out here and he lost his job too. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're the exact same person. This is great.
Soulmates, we both lost our job.
We're soulmates. We both lost our jobs. And he's broke too. This is great. Not so much. The older, wiser me now knows that what you put out is what you get back. And he was a direct reflection of how I saw myself at that time. Right. Sad and miserable. So obviously that was the nature of our relationship. Sad, broke, and miserable. And I just thought, oh, this is normal. You know, this is going to change. This is whatever.
Yeah.
So obviously, right. I think it'll get better. Yeah. So during that time, I actually was able to get another full-time job, probably about 4 or 5 months later, because I was actively looking, and I got a job, and it was a secure job, right? A secure job, because at this point I just need anything that's going to make me feel safe. So it was for the city and county of San Francisco, and I was like, okay, great, this is awesome. At the time, the guy wasn't really working out, so I was like, whatever, I'm going to dump the guy. And I did dump the guy. And I said, whatever, it's over. And I left him, and I got going in this job. And I realized, and I just threw myself into this job. And I realized the more and more.
You're in your second job. So now you're in your second job at Stanford. So let's just talk to a couple of the people in the comments. So Thea said that she can relate. She had a job that only lasted 2 months as well. And Danny said, that's why I'm afraid of moving far away, but I know I need to get out of the city. And I actually wanted to address that because I lived in DC for 8 years, Danny, and I don't know what it was, but I just felt like it was time to go. And I didn't know where I was going to be going, but I don't know. I just felt like I was very complete with the energy of the city. I felt like I had done everything I needed to do. 8 years is a long time. And people were kind of shocked that I was just getting up and leaving. They were like, why are you leaving? Like, they just thought like I would get settled there because they were all getting settled there. And I felt this draw to come to Chicago because of a master's program here, which I now graduated from. But at the time, I was very scared. I didn't know. And then I decided to actually move back to New Jersey. And actually, that's when Nadya and I had crossed paths. I had decided to move back to New Jersey for to be close to my family, because I was like, well, I'm in DC now, and if I go to Chicago, I'm going to be even further away from everybody I know. So maybe I should first go home and spend some time with my family. You know, I had been away for 8 years. We can all get to know each other, because I left when I was 18. Now I was 26, so I was a completely different person. I wanted them to get to know me. I wanted to get to know them. And so it was a really good experience. And I feel like then I was ready to come here to Chicago, which is where I am now. And same thing. And I didn't know anyone here. I didn't know what I was doing. A couple people thought I was crazy as well. And honestly, it's been the best decision of my life now that I've moved forward. But I feel like when you really feel that inside of you that, it's time to go, like, oh my God, I think it's so important to listen to that intuition. Otherwise, you just really feel like you end up getting stuck, and it just slows down things in our lives, I believe. And another thing I wanted to say, I wanted to reference to your story about Thanksgiving dinner, Nadya. I actually remember I had told my parents when I was in the corporate job for 6 years that it was in the beginning, though. In the beginning, I loved it. For the first 3 years in the corporate world, I was a happy camper. And I had gotten my first promotion. So same thing, I got a job. So I was at a family dinner party, and everybody was kind of outside, and I had gathered everybody up, and I was like, hey, I have an amazing announcement to make. And so I kind of gathered everyone up. So they too, they were excited. They were like, ooh, what you gonna tell us, So I was like, I got a promotion. I was like, I got my first promotion at my job. Like, I'm so excited. Like, I'm now a consultant because at that time I was an analyst. Yeah. And they were like, that's so great, honey. And I was like, why am I more, like, I guess I should be excited, but why are they not excited? You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know what one of my aunts said? She was just like, oh, I thought you were going to have other good news for us. And you know what that means? That I was engaged and I had found a man or something like that. And I was just like, wait, hold up. So you think me being engaged and being with a man is more of an accomplishment than me working my freaking ass off to get a promotion? I was so mad. I'm still a little hurt about it. I'm working through it, you guys, with my energy healer. But I was really disturbed. Like, it really shattered me because I was just like, wow, like something I worked so hard to do. And like, they're like, oh, we thought you had other good news. So I think like that's one thing that was really hard for me with cranking up the positivity. You know what I mean? Because I was like, well, I'm really happy. I'm positive. Why are people not around me as happy as I am? So that's something that I want to talk about a little bit later after we get into the story, but I wanted to relate it to the Thanksgiving thing. And let's see, what else are people saying? Did you want to say something? Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, it's super frustrating sometimes when you're excited to share with family something that's so important and going on with you, and they're just kind of like, burp, burp, and it's like, hello.
Want to tell them, like, and it's funny because actually, you know, it's my second time full-time in business, and you know, my rent got paid, and honestly, you guys, I didn't even know how my rent was going to get paid, if it was going to get paid or anything. Like, it was that type of situation. And when it got paid, one of my friends was like, oh my god, are you going to tell your parents? And honestly, like, I was like, I don't feel called to tell them because I feel like they're going to be like, okay, well, that's nice, but you still need rent for March, or what about the rest of your bills? How are you eating? Are you eating at home? Did you start cooking yet? And I'm just like, I just feel like they will go on to the next like fear-based question and like not be there to celebrate with you in the moment when you're like, my rent just got paid and I didn't think it was going to get paid and I didn't know what was going to happen. And, you know, so I didn't tell them. I decided to not tell them. And I was like, that's kind of sad. But I was like, well, I guess it is what it is. Because of course I wanted to celebrate with them. But like sometimes I feel like part of cranking up the positivity is like sharing things with people who will celebrate with you. You know what I mean? So
just going to say that, you know, part of cranking up the positivity, I'll get into it a little bit later. You have to protect your positivity like it's your baby. And
I really like that.
You really do. Because it's kind of like you have this little ball and you thought that it was not going to work out, and it did. It flourished, it bloomed. You have to be careful with who you share it with, because a lot of people project their insecurities and their, you know, negativity or their problems on you. You don't want to get your baby banged up. You know, you worked hard for it, right? So
it's like they're throwing your baby across the room. Like, no, don't throw my baby.
Like, here you go. Like, have it. Like, oh, you want to see my kid? Here, there. It's like, no.
Okay, so Deja says, I've learned that if you don't listen to your intuition, the universe will take care of business for you. Yeah, I love what Oprah says. When you don't listen to your intuition, like she says, you know, the universe will try to like nudge you. Then the universe will try to tap you. Then the new universe will try to smack you. Then the new universe will knock you down. So you're like, okay, I need to listen now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. Hit you over your head. Yeah, exactly. Karen. Like, knock you down. Strip you away from everything you have. So that's interesting.
It's so true.
So, okay, so back to the story. So now you're at your second job. You've dumped the guy.
Now I'm at the second job. I've dumped the guy. I think that I'm secure now, and I'm realizing the same problem is coming up again, but I don't want to talk about it and I don't want to admit it. I'm noticing that the job that I'm in is not much different from the jobs that I've had.
It's creeping back up.
It's coming back. It's coming back. And I'm like, okay, this is not what's supposed to happen. I have a secure job and it's what I'm supposed to do and it's everything in line. And no, I just didn't want to face it. I did not want to deal with that. And on the guy side, he kept texting me and he was like, let's get back together, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, whatever, like, let's get back together. Because I did miss him, because that at the time was what I thought was what I needed to do. I thought that was right. I thought he was genuinely remorseful and we were going to go about our business. So it's after Christmas now. I have the guy, I have the job, like everything's great, right? I'm miserable. I am not in a relationship that is fulfilling at all. I feel like I'm giving and giving and giving, and he is taking and taking and taking. I feel like my job is completely and utterly I'm completely disinterested. I'm sitting in meetings. I'm watching people move by me, and I'm jealous of them because they seem so content with their file cabinets and their files and running to places. And I'm starting to look at them and I'm wondering, what is that ever going to feel like?
I love that. They're content with their files and their file cabinets. And
I'm sitting over here like, when's lunch? Like when's when's lunch? My brain is not there, and it's becoming more. And it's kind of like when someone's calling your name and it's like far away. Yeah, I like that. You were outgrowing your life. I like that. That's a very strong, powerful statement. I love that. I didn't see it at the time, but it's true. And so I kept getting more and more and more uncomfortable. The relationship started to really suck and just keep going down and keep going down. And the job just kept getting worse and kept getting worse. And guys, when you don't like a job, I know, I'll speak for myself. I'll be completely transparent. I start to show up late because I don't want to go.
I don't want to go. I couldn't get up for the career fair. Same thing.
I don't want to go.
I don't want to go.
So 9 o'clock comes, snooze. 10 o'clock comes,
snooze.
11 o'clock, okay, now you need to show up. This is not Mad Men. So that started to happen. And my boss, I think, started to notice it. I started to just feel increasingly uncomfortable. My relationship was really pissing me off. And so it got to a point at Mother's Day. And we all know Mother's Day for me is like a deal because my mom passed away. And I had been in there. It was like somehow, some way she spoke to me and she was like, drop it. But before I could say drop it, because I was scared to say drop it, I was scared to admit that I did it again, he said it. He dropped it. And I was like, okay, even though I was sad and I felt lost, I felt this overwhelming.
I missed something. What did he drop?
He dropped me. He said he dumped me. He dumped me on Mother's Day.
He dumped you on Mother's Day, and he knows about your situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was so hurtful at the time, and I couldn't believe how callous he was. But at the same time, I feel like my mom implemented that to show, don't ever go back here. Don't ever go back. Like, if someone treats you like this now, imagine if you spend more time with them. So it was like, okay, I know not to go back there. That was one door that was closed. I knew it was closed. It hurt, but I knew it was closed. My job at the time was still getting worse. And all of a sudden, guys, we're in April, May, June timeframe. Going into July, I start to notice weird things are happening with my health. Like, I had vertigo, and I started to feel really weird in my body, and my eyes started to hurt. I ignored all of these things because I was like, whatever, this is just what happens when you turn older. I ignored it. I'm one of those people that don't like to go to the doctor. I'm older, whatever. And it got really, really bad to the point where I actually had to go to the doctor, and I had to get an MRI. And so I'm sitting on the couch in August, and I'm about to come home because I was going to visit my family for my mom's, we celebrate her life every August on the anniversary of her passing. And I get a call from my doctor, and he goes, and I remember, guys, I feel like I hate my job. I'm miserable because this guy dumped me. I'm so sad. I'm so lost. And the doctor calls me and was like, Mrs. Hewitt, I have something to tell you. And I was like, oh, what? He was like, you have multiple sclerosis. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? How can I have multiple sclerosis? I'm perfectly healthy. And he was like, well, no, I'm looking at your MRIs and this is what's happening. So now I have no boyfriend. I'm dumped and I'm sad. And I have a job that I hate. Oh, and by the way, I'm sick. And I was just like,
I'm gonna
that's
cry listening to this. I'm getting all teary-eyed.
Aw. Aw, Dee Dee, I love you. You're getting me teary-eyed too, because it's like, what was I supposed to do then? I was just like, how can this happen? I really just thought at that point, like, all right, this is it. Like, I give up. I'm done. I'm really done. Like, I marched down to the waterfront, ate 3 dozen oysters, and I was so lost. I didn't know what to do. I was so lost. And it's crazy because that moment that I went home, I met Sweta. And I had my first session with Sweta.
Wow.
And for the I did. And I remember when I first met Sweta, I thought she was going to tell me that my future was going to be bright and airy and all this stuff. And all of this stuff.
Who Sweta is, just in case they don't know.
Oh, Sweta is my energy healer and intuitive. So if you guys have not been following Sweta on Periscope, she is an amazing force. She changed my life. Up until I met Sweta, I remember
crying.
You said what?
I said, look at us crying. I didn't expect that.
Oh, I didn't expect it either. But it's good because it's like, woo, you get it out.
Yeah.
Crowd cleanse. Woo. And so I met Sweta, and I remember telling my dad when we were driving home together, and I remember telling him, I said, I've never felt so lost, and I really feel like I'm going to give up. And he looked at me and he said, well, what does that mean? And I said, I don't know. And when I met Sweta, for the first time in 4 years, I actually got some relief. I was like, wow, my life is worth living. There is a chance here that if I take this gamble on myself, that I can be happy, that I can find what happiness is. And I can know what that finally feels like. I had a glimpse of it when I started working with her. So I kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And guys, getting through all of that crap was probably, and still is at times, the most painful thing you can do, because it's there and it hurts. It hurts so much. And that's how I realized that the guy that I was dating was a direct reflection of myself, that I didn't love myself. And he popped up because he doesn't love himself either. And he certainly doesn't love me. And that, all of the things, this happiness thing, this trying to fit into, this mold that I thought, all of these things are a direct reflection of how I felt about myself. And finally, I started in this past year and a half to feel better and to feel happy. And I decided at that moment with working with Sweta that I was not going to stop until I found this thing that happiness was. Yes. So fast forward now, guys, I've been working with Sweta for months now, and January of last year comes up, and I feel that feeling again, like I need to shed skin, and I start to feel really uncomfortable again. And I'm like, oh shit, what's gonna happen now? Like, I've done a lot of work. I got my health on track. I'm like, I really can't handle anymore. And I remember that week I could not get out of bed. I used all the leave I had, and I said, I kept saying and sitting in my bed and saying, universe, I can't take it anymore. I can't go to this job. Universe, I can't take it anymore. I can't go to this job. And I remember the day before my leave ran out, I called my dad and I told him, I said, look, I don't know what to do. I said, I can't take this job anymore, and I don't have any savings. I can't tell them to leave me alone, and I can't go in there and quit. I said, I have nothing to fall back on. I said, I don't know what's going to happen. And he said, babe, don't quit, because he knows like how I am. He said, don't quit because you can't afford to not quit. He said, but just ask God, ask the universe to help you. Call on your mother. He said, talk to your mom, just talk to her. And so guys, the next day I walked into my office, and remember, I have had an uncomfortable feeling. So I started like taking things out of my office, like just because I just had a really uncomfortable feeling like for a while now. And I walk into my office, and my boss calls me into her office, and I sit down and I see the HR lady there, and I'm like, what's going on? And the HR lady leans in and she starts talking. I'm like, I've seen this before. And I said, I've seen this before. And I stopped her and I said, hey, am I getting fired right now? And she said, no, you're getting laid off. And I turned to the HR woman and I said, does that mean I can collect unemployment? And she said, yes. And I stood up and I shook both of their hands and I said, thank you very much. I said, I've enjoyed myself here. Thank you for this opportunity. And I got my purse and I walked out of the office and I did not look back. And I started screaming in the elevator because the one thing I wanted to do was quit. I couldn't do it if I quit, but now that I was laid off, I can quit and be supported with unemployment. How is that?
The universe listened to you. That is so amazing.
The universe delivered. And how crazy is this? At that exact moment that I walked outside, my best friend down here happened to be crossing past, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I just got fired from my job. He was like, oh. I said, no, it's great. And he was like, oh.
That's hilarious.
It was so confused. But the universe knew at that moment I would need support, because with that amazing feeling of freedom comes that very real fear of like, oh crap, like I don't have any money. Yeah. And so, fast forward to now, I got unemployment. I was able to get a part-time job. I only have to go there 20 hours a week. It's very low key, and I'm able to work on my business. And I'm able to continue with living in my life purpose. And when go ahead.
I don't know if there's more in between before you get here, but I wanted to hear about how did you decide or realize that, that blogging and doing this Thrive coaching was kind of like when did that happen? From there?
So after I quit after I got laid off from my job, I realized, I was like, you know what? The universe is trying to tell me that this is not going to work. Finding another job is not going to work. This has happened now 3 times. So we're not going to get another job. And I remember, Aditi, I think you and I were talking about blogging, and I was like, kind of like not trying to get on it. And then I wanted to do it, but I was scared to do it. And I said, you know what? We're going to do this blogging thing. You're going to write a blog about what you're going through, and it's going to be about it's going to be a lifestyle blog. And for the longest time, Aditi, you remember, I could not figure out what it was going to be or what it was going to be about. And I realized I needed to start this blog and talk about what was happening to me, because if it was happening to me, it was happening to other people. And I was working with Sweta, and I was doing all this amazing energy work, and I was having all these breakthroughs, and I was like, I want to share this with people. I don't want people to feel like they have to be stuck. I don't want people to feel like they need to be concerned with these things that people tell them they need to be concerned with. Wow. I want people to have the courage to go out there and go after what they want, and to not feel like being stuck is the answer. Being stuck is okay, but staying there is not. And I wanted to give people that hope and that trust that I had gained, and to be able to be like a soundboard and to let people feel safe that they could talk to me about what was going on. Yeah. And so yeah, that's what I genuinely wanted to do with this. And because I didn't have any distractions, the universe cleared all of my distractions. There was no job to go to. I literally woke up and started building content for this blog every day. And here we are today. And it's grown beautifully. I went from being really insecure about even telling people I had a blog, because I felt like I'm a millennial and people are going to say, oh, you have a blog. And I genuinely, like, oh yeah, great. And everybody has a blog, like whatever, you're not special. And I realized that was a lot of me still projecting that on myself. And people do want to know that you have a blog. And guess what? Even if people don't want to know that you have a blog, it's not for them. They don't have to listen to it. So, and I realized that. And so I've been working with you, Aditi. I've been working with Sweta, and I've been doing a lot of work on myself. And I finally got to this point where I realized I want to do Thrive coaching. I want to have people understand that you are not alone, and that you can have what you want. You can have happiness, and you can be supported. I would love to support you.
So amazing. Well, it looks like Deja is really resonating with what you're saying. She goes, Nadya, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. Not many people talk about their career problems, and this is really what I needed to hear. There are other people out there that have had similar experiences.
Thank you, Tasia. Yeah, and I think you said something that's so important. Not a lot of people want to talk about it because it's like a source of shame. You know?
It really, it's like, oh, like if you can't get a job, you must be like an idiot or something, like, or less than, or, you know, not good, or like, it's interesting because I remember a friend telling me once about this guy that she was talking to or dating, and he had gotten laid off, I think, and all of a sudden he just disappeared. Like he just was so embarrassed of it that he, like, I guess wasn't a man at the time because he didn't have a job. And he just kind of drew away from her. And I was like, it's so interesting how we tie our self-worth to what we do and our careers. And, you know, I had another friend as well, and she said that she went to some workshop or had some sort of conversation and made her realize that she really ties her identity to her job. And I feel like so many of us do that. I think also when I was at corporate America, my identity was tied to my job. Like it was a company where it was a top 4 consulting company, and it was a lot of people's dream job to work there. And so I felt like, you know, I had to be happy because other people are trying to be here. So I should just be grateful. You know what I mean? And, you know, after year 3, I really wasn't happy anymore. Same thing, like I just wasn't fulfilled. I tried everything. I tried doing different projects and going in different areas. But at some point, it just wasn't working for me anymore. And it was so hard for me to come to terms with because, one, my self-worth was tied to the identity because it made me feel cool or special that I was at this job in the superficial form. But at the same time, same thing, like I wasn't happy. And I was in the same situation as you at one point where, you know, I had everything. Like I had the boyfriend who was a good guy with a good family, good job. I had an amazing job. Like, and I just felt guilty for the fact that I wasn't happy. I felt like, but I should be happy. Like, that's what everyone tells us. Like, this is happiness. This is what happiness is. So you should feel happy. But same thing, like, I didn't feel happy though. So it's like, what do you do in those times when you don't feel happy? And like, that was definitely a tough one for me. But I think, like, as you've discovered, really going within, you know, and hiring a coach, I think hiring a coach has literally saved my life. Like, I feel like when no one else is really listening to your, you know, because a coach doesn't necessarily know you personally, right? So they don't care about your life in the way that, you know, your family and friends are attached to what you're doing. And also they're projecting onto you, but your coach really wants you to be your best and reach your potential. And I think like that's what's helped me kind of go to that next level. You know what I mean? And I think that's why both you and I are so inspired to be coaches ourselves. Like that's why we do coaching, because we want to be that cheerleader for people who have a dream that they can't share with their family or their friends. And they just need that support system. They need that safe space for them to say the crazy ideas that they have. I mean, who would have ever known that you and I, like years later, would be like on an interview on something called Blab, you know what I mean? Like, I never thought of myself as interviewing people or being interviewed ever. Like, I just thought I was going to have a corporate job and like, but I'm same thing. I'm happier than I've ever been before. I'm working harder than I ever have, but I'm happier than I've ever been. So it's like, I'm actually doing, like, I have been a workaholic, but before it was more out of like seeking self-worth, I think. Like, I want to feel important because I don't feel important. I don't feel good. But now I'm coming to a place of like service. Like, I get so excited to help all of you guys get your message out there. Like, it lights me up to help you market I like to say everybody has magic inside of them, and I help you market your magic.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's so true, because I remember telling my family, cringing over the phone, like when my family asked me, you know, what are you doing now? That's the main question that they are. What are you doing now?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? And I had to tell them that I was laid off. And I could hear it so many of their voices just like, oh God, when are you going to get it together? Like, I actually had a relative tell me that, like, when are you going to get it together? And I'm thinking in my head, like, what is there to get together? Like, this is not working, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not working. Your family tells you that every day, Danny. Don't listen. It's hard when they say it, but they are projecting their insecurities onto you. I'm telling you. My dad the other day said something to me. He said, you know, when are you going to get a full-time job? And he knows that I'm super happy with what I'm doing and that this is like a non-negotiable. I love this. He said, when are you going to get a full-time job? And I told him, I said, Dad, what is a full-time job going to give me that the other two didn't? Let's be honest. It's just not going to work. It's okay. And, you know, I think the calmer you are now, inside you'll be pissed. I'm telling you that right now. But the calmer you are when you address it, I think it kind of makes them kind of calm down too. Because I was very calm when I said it, and I said, Dad, it's not going to work. It's just not for me. And it's okay. And he didn't really know how to take that because it wasn't a fight. And you know, but when you address it like that, because you're still staying true to your own convictions, you know, you know, it's okay. Huh? You
Danny says, people understand. They think I'm stupid for quitting my job. And I agree. I feel like when people can't see your vision and they can't understand what it is that you have in store for you, it's hard for them to be supportive because they're only looking at you through their own lens. And, you know, I just graduated from my master's degree in December. And, you know, it's funny, when I graduated, my mom was like, yeah, you're going to get that 100K job and this and that. And I was just like, oh, wow, like, that's nice. My mom's like super excited for me. But then she's talking about a 100K job. And I was like, okay, that means my energy is good, that I can attract that much money. But I know she means it in the corporate sense, you know what I mean? And then I told them the next day after graduation that I'm going into my own full-time business. And they're like, huh?
Drop.
Excuse me, what does that mean? Like, they were just like, how could you go into a business? You know, like, to them, I'm like a child. I don't know what I'm doing. I need to get a job. I need to get more experience, maybe age a little. But, like, I was like, no, I'm doing this. And then the best thing was I showed them examples of other people doing it, thinking that I can show them, like, look, it's possible. And then their next question was, well, if they're doing it, what the hell are you going to do? Because it's already filled by the market. Yeah. And I was just like, okay, this is not going the way I planned. I was like, I'm doing it. And that's why I felt guilty, I think, about going on that career fair, because I was like, I feel like my dad's going to be like, you need to keep an open mind. You know, you need to try to find a job.
I get that all the time.
I can't do it. I feel like my soul is just dying every time I even think about the corporate world. Like, it makes me, I literally, like, I feel like I'm going to vomit. Like, I get so nauseous. I'm like.
I get nervous. I get very, like, overwhelmed and nervous that something is, like, going to happen. I'm like, oof.
I can't do it.
I can't do it. I can't do it. And, you know, I want to say that, guys, you know you better than anyone else. And you know what your intuition feels like. You've felt it before. It's that super strong feeling to tell you when you are or not supposed to do something. And you really know when it is present. And if it's telling you no, it is. No, it is. Yeah. You know, no one can tell you it's not, because you know in your soul it's not. That's like such a strong feeling.
And I want to talk. So my family, they're so negative about it. So I distance myself from them, and I don't want any negativity. You know what? And that's like the next thing I was going to talk about in a second. But first, I want Nadya to quickly tell us about something really exciting she's launching, and then we'll talk about that.
So
what are you launching, Nadya?
I know. So, guys, I am launching my Thrive. At first, I'm doing a challenge. It's called the Vibrant Life Challenge. So what we're going to be doing is, if you guys have been feeling stuck, if you've been feeling confused, if you've been kind of like, I don't know what's going on, let's do the Vibrant Life Challenge together. It's going to be 4 days, and it's going to end with a webinar. And it's going to be I'm so excited for this, because this will be the first time that I've really talked about, like, here, I've talked about my experiences, and we're going to vibe vibrate together. Literally, we're going to like blossom together. We're going to have activities, and we're going to have a Facebook group where we can put what we're doing, and we can put pictures, and we can talk to each other and support each other while we are getting on our vibrant life. So I'm super, super excited for that, guys. So please sign up. And to the first 3 people that sign up, I'm going to give you a free mini Thrive coaching session with me.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yes, I'm so excited to do this. I'm launching my Thrive coaching, and the first 3 people that sign up, I would love to thrive with you, and we can coach together. We can do it together. I'm so excited.
Just signed up. All right, Danny just got a free mini Thrive coaching session. Woo-hoo. Who else is signing up? Who's live with us? Go ahead and type it in when you sign up.
Yes, go and type it in. Yay, you're smiling so hard. Yay, Danny.
Oh, yay. Woo. And anyone also watching the replay, the link is tinyurl.com/VLC16, right? That's right, VLC16, Vibrant Life Challenge, yeah. So tinyurl.com/VLC16. They just going to the link right now. She about to get a free mini class session.
Yeah.
Oh, Miran signed up. Yay. All 3 of your spots are like taking a second. That's amazing.
This is so awesome. Thanks, guys. Woo, I'm so excited, you guys, so we can have our vibrant life together. Woo!
And I was going to say, I love the word vibrant. Like, I just feel like it has this energy to it where it's just like, you just want to feel alive inside, you know? And that's something I've chased because I remember, was it last year? It was 2 years ago. I went to this conference, right? And I just remember I felt so alive at this conference. I was having so much fun. I was teaching on like with PowerPoints, and I was like a leader of this conference. And I just was so energized. And I was like, how can I feel like this more? You know what I mean? I was like, why is it that we only feel alive a few times in the year? Like sometimes, like, you know, when you go to an amazing wedding, you have a blast, or maybe sometimes the holidays, you have a blast. But it's like, I was like, wait, are we really slaving our butts off to just feel alive those few weekends in the entire year? And like, that's when I started questioning everything. I was like, there's got to be a way to feel alive more often, you know? Why do I have to wait for like a few weekends a year to feel good and excited and alive? And I think now, you know, now that I've followed my intuition, now that you followed your intuition, we're both living in a place where we really feel alive all the time, you know? I mean, of course, except when we're working through things, but generally, like today, Nadya, so the angels keep waking me up when they want me to get to work. So today, they kept waking me up at like, for the last like 5 days, I've been waking up at like 7 a.m. and I haven't been sleeping well. But after I get over the initial like, oh, this is annoying, once I'm working, I'm having so much fun. I have the music blasted. I'm creating like social media pictures and setting up our blab and like doing all this work. And I just feel more alive than I've ever felt in my life. And like, oh, it's paying off so much. I feel so good. I want everybody to feel this way. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm so excited for the Vibrant Life Challenge, because I feel like everybody deserves to feel vibrant, you know? Everyone should experience that. Like, and I don't feel like we do. I don't feel like we all do.
We don't.
You know?
I think when, especially with social media, you know, people look at other people and think, wow, that's their life. I'll never have that. I'll never be able to know what happiness is. For the longest time, you guys, I genuinely thought that happiness was something that happened to lucky people.
Right. Honestly. And a lot of people think that. And people do you get, people ever tell you that, Nadya? Like, oh, you're so lucky, X, Y. I hate when people say that to me. Because I'm like, I'm not lucky. I've been working for this.
Like, no, I am not lucky. I literally just had a meltdown before I came out of the house. Like,
right. Just had a meltdown. I just cried live on Blab in front of everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And so when people are like, you know, oh, you know, you're always like, you know, so happy, and I'm like, well, you know, it's something you that is for everyone. I want everyone to feel like this. And, you know, it's not about luck. It's about going and like having the courage to go after what you want, you know?
Yeah.
That's what
absolutely.
It's
about. And one last topic maybe I wanted to talk about before we roll off is what Danny was talking about. She said, let's scroll up. My family's so negative, so I have to distance myself from them, and I don't want any negative. Yeah. So the scope that I did right before this was F positivity and cut people out of your life that are not in your vibe, because I strongly believe that too. Like, I feel like if people aren't where I am, I can't, and I'm honestly so over superficial conversations nowadays. I just can't deal with it. Like, I'm like, this is boring. I want to talk about the angels and spirituality and feathers. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I just feel like I'm evolving continuously, and I don't know. And like, I just want to be around people who have big dreams. Like, that's what I want now, because I have a global mission, and I want to be around people who have a global mission, because and I'm just so committed to what I'm doing now. You know, it's like, it's almost like my head is down and I'm just doing this work. And people have asked me too, like, hey, well, where are you? What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm so busy. Like, I work more now than I ever have. And then since my job involves, you know, so much interaction and social media, it's just like, I'm always on. So it's like, even more, I become a hermit, and I don't even talk to anybody. Like, I talk to maybe like 2 people consistently, barely even. And I talk to my clients and my business partners the most, you know what I mean? It's just such a different life. And I've had to do that too. Like, I'm like, you know, if I don't feel good around you, and sometimes it's my own trigger, it may not even be their fault, but I'm being triggered by something that, you know, something else that someone else is doing or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't have time to be stressed out about this right now. Oh, and you know what Shweta says, which I love? She says, if someone's all up in your business and bothering you about what you're doing, it's usually because they're not happy. And I've noticed that for myself, because she says happy people are too busy being happy. They don't give up whatever about what you're doing. You know what I mean? And I've seen situations where I used to give enough about some people in my life and what was going on for them. And I used to be like, oh, why can't they just see their potential? Oh my God, there's so much going for them, and da-da-da. And I would get so worked up about other people's success and happiness. But now I'm like, I don't have time. Like, if you ain't choosing your happiness, you keep it walking, because I'm on the happiness train right now, honey.
Absolutely. You know I mean? Absolutely. It's important. Like, when you're going after something that you want, when you're going after your life purpose, when you're going after your happiness, you have to surround yourself with people who are on the same mission as you. Yeah. And it's one of those things where I've even had to do it. Aditi, I resonated with what you said, like when you said you feel isolated. I literally cannot wait when I'm at my part-time jobs to come home, close the door, get on Blab, get on Periscope, and start, you know, working at what I really love to do. And I love to be around people that have big dreams. I love to be around expansive people. I want to be around people that are into evolving, you know? And that's fun for me. And I've noticed that, you know, there are some people that I personally have had to say, okay, like, I need to, you know, scoot away from a little bit, you know, and that's okay. It's not the easiest thing sometimes, because it feels uncomfortable, but it's important, because the best thing that you can do for that person is to live in your life purpose, because you will inspire them, hopefully, to do what they need to do. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Deja says, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. And Danny says, I have so many things I want to do, and it's to help others, which is I love doing. Same here. It's so fun.
Yeah.
And I realized the people that I work with, I call them angel entrepreneurs. And what I've realized about them is they want to help others. Like, they want to create the world a better place, but they also want to create a better life for themselves. So it's kind of like both things. You know what I mean? It's because I'll admit, you know, it's not just helping people, but I also want to create an amazing life for myself. So it's both of those things that motivate me to do all of these scary things. You know what I mean? And I feel so good. Like, someone messaged me today. And, you know, when you're living in your life purpose, you never know who's listening or what's going on. You're just kind of there. You just show up. And that's what the universe tells you to do, and you do it. And someone messaged me today, and they were like, I've dedicated to watch all of your scopes and all of your, like, classes and all of your replays. And I was so touched by that. I was like, wow, like, you know, someone is resonating with what I'm saying and is watching, and it just motivates you to keep going. Like, it's helping somebody. Somebody's listening, you know, to this calling that I have. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, it is very cool. It is very cool, and it feels great to live in happiness and to live in your life purpose. You know, it's an amazing feeling.
It
And
is.
and you know what? Even if you're like finding and looking for what it is, like don't it does feel great, Danny. It really does. Like don't let anyone tell you differently because you know how you feel.
Exactly. Well, this conversation was so good. We went over by like 11 minutes. So let's wrap up. Do you have any last thoughts or any wise pieces of advice? And then also plug in your challenge that you're doing one last time.
So, well, what I will close with in saying is that, guys, happiness is something that everyone deserves, and that includes you. And I want for everyone on here to go after what makes them happy and to live in their life purpose. And I am doing the Vibrancy Life Challenge. You can go to tinyurl.com/VLC16 and you can sign up there. We're going to have it in the Facebook group that I designate. We're going to have fun. We'll be able to post pictures and we'll be able to communicate with each other. And it's going to be great. And I'm going to start we're going to end with a webinar, and that'll be really fun because then we can come together and we can all talk about what we've learned and what we've experienced.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I think that's going to be great because I believe happiness is a practice more than
Yes.
it is like something that just comes to you. So this will help you get into the practice potentially. And then in the class that you do, we can talk about how it went for all of us. So that'll be fun. I'm excited for it.
Me too.
Cool.
Me too.
Well, thank you so much, Nadya, for being here. And thank you to everybody who's come here live. And thank you to everybody who's watching the replay. This was super fun and happiness for you and excited for everyone to, achieve and reach for their happiness. So thank you guys.
My pleasure.